7th of March, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Okay, so we saw the case. We just to recap what we did yesterday. We did the Toshma, Hiko al Enoi, Vesimoy al Aznoi, Vechirshoi. The master. Two parts of this Bryce over here. If he came in contact the master and gave a clap to the eye or to the ear and blinded the eye and made him deaf, so then the Eved goes as Yotze Lecherus. Eved Yotze Behen Lecherus. The Eved goes out to Lecherus. But if the master just hits on the wall, which is directly in front of the Eved by his eye or by his ear, and the same result happens to the eye and the ear, even though he didn't touch the Eved at all, he just gave a clap on the wall. And then the Brisa says, "Ein Eved yotz ben lecheretz." The Eved does not go out, and the Gemora thought, "My timer lav mishum de beinin umdana." Is this not because we need to have an umdana? And the Beis Din needs to make an evaluation. Was the action that was done by the person, by the master, was that an action which was sufficient to cause such a result? And therefore, Rashi told us that we're understanding that it wasn't sufficient to cause that result, and that's why the Eved does not go free in this case. Shma mina yesh umdana l'nizakin. So that would come out as a proof that we do, yes, make a umdana, even in regard, we do make an evaluation, appraisal of the weapon that was used, whether it was in fact roy and fitting that it could have done that extent of damage. So that would be the answer to the question. On that, the Gemora answered, no, they don't have any proof from that Bryce over there. It's Bryce in Kedushin, Chav Daled Amid Base, 24b. No, the reason why he didn't go out when he knocked on the wall is Mishum Damrinan Shahud Ibis Nafshe. He was the one, the Eved was the one that scared himself, so to speak. He was the one that did it to himself. Since he scared himself, that was what caused that was a cause of the damage. So since the hit on the wall was not the direct cause of the damage, so therefore the Eved does not go free. Oh, so now we can go to this Brisa. We can go to this Brisa Kedesanya. So we're up to Kedesanya. You see where Kedesanya is in your on your page. Kedesanya, Amavi says Chavero Potter.
Which page is this now?
You're 91A2. You're on the right side, the bottom paragraph,
Okay.
and you're the third line in.
Oh, oh.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. So, Roy, would you like to read for us?
Kesanya, and it was taught in a brisa. Hamabai, Hamais, As, Chavero, one who startles his fellow, thereby inducing shock and resultant injury. Potter, Medina Adam, he is exempt under the laws of man. V'chayev Bedina Shamim,
Shemayim.
Shemayim, but is liable under the laws of heaven. Ketzad, how is this so? Taka Ba'azana V'hira Shah. If he shouted into another's ear and deafened him, Potter is exempt from liability under the laws of man. Achazar v'taka v'ezna v'chayshah. But if he grabbed him and shouted into his ear and deafened him, chayiv, he is liable.
Right. So here we see that if he just shouted into the ear, so that would that the Gemora understands would be similar and comparable to giving a clap on the wall opposite the ear. And that would be and if that caused any damage to the ear, not just actually that the ear became deaf, couldn't hear, but if there was any other damage as well. By the way, he would the din would be in regard to the liability of the person that shouted or did the clapping. He would be pater midinei adam. He would be pater midinei adam because the Bezdin is not authorized to give compensation for indirect damage. This would be considered, I believe, what we call a grumma. It's indirect damage, and the Bezdin Shalmata does not authorize to take money from the assailant for such things, but important, chayav b'dinei shemayim. Shemayim does regard it as an obligation, so it's not really 100% correct for a person to say, "Oh, well, since the Bezdin here doesn't have the right to take the money out of me, so that means that I don't owe this guy anything." No, that's absolutely wrong, because what's going to happen if this person who clapped on the wall or shouted in his ear, if he didn't pay him anything in this world, so after 120 years, when he goes upstairs, so he's gonna get shouted at himself by the Bezdin Shomala. How come you didn't pay this person the money that you owe him? That's basically what it means. He's pater midinei adam, but he's chayav b'dinei shemayim. Basically, he is chayav. So word to the wise, if he should pay the money to the guy. He knows what's good for him.
If you said before, or any other damage, that applies also to the first two cases that we started off with. If he struck his slave upon his eye and blinded him, or on his ear and deafened him, or on the wall opposite his slave's eye or opposite his ear. So it's not just that they're just examples. Is that so?
well, in the case of an Eved Kanani, right? You have a situation where you don't owe damages. You don't pay damages to an Eved Kanani, right?
Mhm.
Because he's in the halacha, he's regarded as your property.
Mhm.
So if it would be an Eved Ivri, that you did that to, then it would be just like any other person. The Bezdin would not be able to extract the money out from you, but really the person should pay the money to the party that he injured, even though it's indirect damage.
Mhm.
Even though it's indirect damage.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what the Gemara is saying over here. But if we go, let's take a look at the we do find over here, just gonna, before we go to the Rashi, before we have Phil read the Rashi, the 3-word Rashi. He likes to read all the short Rashis, I know. But we see over here that in this case, if he did more than simply shout into his ear, if he grabbed onto his ears, right? That's what it says over here. Aval achazo, if he grabbed on to his ears, or grabbed onto him, maybe either one, I think. Doesn't matter where he grabs on. It doesn't say exactly where he grabs on. But taka ba'ozno, and then he shouts into the ear, b'chir sho, and he causes damage. Chayev, then he's going to be liable even in the Bezdin Shel Mata. The Bezdin Shel, this Bezdin down here will be able to extract the money for the damages out from him. Now, why is that? What is the difference actually? Is this called indirect damage? Is the reason that he became deaf is because he grabbed onto his shoulders, or even if he grabbed onto his ears? Is that going to cause him to become deaf? And if he shouts in his ears, is that going to cause him to become deaf? I mean, it is going to cause. We're going to say it is a cause, but it's an indirect cause. It's no less indirect. It's no less indirect than if he didn't grab onto his ears. No.
No.
Why?
If
What's the difference?
if he grabbed onto his ears, then he's connecting himself directly with the slave. He's not apart from the slave. He's forced himself onto, physically connected with the slave, so he's directly caused. He's not standing apart. There's no distance between them.
Is it like if he would just go up to his ear and give him one of these on the ear? The same thing?
More so.
If it goes like that onto the ear, he's going to be liable.
Yeah, so it's more so because he's positioned the ear to out into it.
Okay, well, let's see what Rashi says over here. I think Rashi is bothered by my question, and he's going to say what he says over here. Take a look at Rashi, Achazo.
Achazo?
Yeah, Achazo. It's right after the Gilyan Shas.
Right. So he grabbed him. Maaseh Didei Hu. It's an action that he did when he grabbed him.
Oh.
And so it's like saying, because it was a physical thing with the grab, that's a ma'aseh. It's considered an action. But just talking or speaking is not considered ma'aseh. So that's why the shouting wasn't good enough.
But it's very interesting because if you would, I mean, really, I'm just saying, when he just shouts into his ear, what do we say? We say he's pater midinei adam, of course. patur midin adam. Because why? Because we say that the person himself, who the ibis nafshe, he was the one that scared himself. He was the one that did it to himself, right? But in this case, when he grabs onto his ears and also shouts, would we not also say he's the one that scared himself? No? That's what I would have said. But we see over here that we do not say this. We see here that the Brisa makes when he grabs onto his ears, it's regarded as a case of direct damage. That's what Rashi is saying these three words to distinguish this case from the case where he simply yells into the ear. When he yells into the ear, so we say about that case that the victim scared himself. There wasn't an act which caused the damage, directly caused the damage. It wasn't an act which directly caused damage. But when he grabs onto him, so that Rashi says is Masadidehu. That's his act. Now we have an act over here. So I'm saying, very nice, you have an act. But that's not the act that caused the damage. Still, the reason why he was the damage was sustained was because he scared himself. Okay. Do I have any supporters over here for my proposition? No. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. So that's the end of the Gemara over here. I mean, that's the end of this. We put down the proof. We dismissed the proof. Gemara wanted to prove that we make an umdana by damage. That it doesn't prove that. It does not prove that. In fact, we could say that we don't make any umdana. But the reason why there's a exemption is because it was not regarded as direct damage. The clap against the wall is not regarded as directly damaging the ear of the person. And similarly, I guess when he shouts into the ear, maybe like Phil said, it's not regarded as an act. It's not regarded as an act. It's a shout. I don't know. It's not regarded as an act.
There's a general principle. There's a general principle about that, about dibor, whether dibor is considered a ma'isa or not.
Yeah, but see, the reason why the Gemora says that he's patur is because he scared himself. So, true. Generally, in a case where he doesn't act, and his act directly comes in contact with the victim, so we cannot say that, oh, he scared himself. But we use that principle, oh, he scared himself, when there's no act which comes in contact with the body of the victim. There was in the case of the clap against the wall, there was an act, but it wasn't an act which came in contact with the body of the victim, with the ear of the victim. So we say that there's a patur. He scared himself. But with the shout, so that would according to what Rashi says, yeah, that it would seem to be that's what's missing. When he just shouts, there's no act. Maybe you need two things. You need that there's an act, and you need that there's an act that comes in contact with the body of the victim. So in the case where he claps against the wall, there's an act, but it's not an act that came into contact with the body of the victim. And when it comes to a shout, you have a shout, but it was a certain, the shout came in contact, so to speak, with the victim, but it's not called an act. Phil says it's not called an act, so you need an act. It was missing an act, so therefore we say he scared himself. But when he grabs onto the person, so then Rashi says, oh, that's called his act. That's called his act. So he did an act, and he shouted into his ear, and like that, we can't say that he's going to be exempt in that case. Not going to be. He did. It's called that he did an act in the body of the victim. He did do an act in the body of the victim, and the victim did become did sustain damage as a result of what he did, and therefore we cannot exempt him in that case. The damage that was caused was considered to be that's the thing. Are we saying that the reason that he was damaged was because of the grabbing of the ear, the grabbing of the shoulders? Maybe we don't need that. That's what we're saying. Maybe we're saying we don't need that. We're as long as we have some type of an act, and we can and we say that he was damaged by it. For some reason, we're not saying over here that he scared himself. Okay. I won't belabor the point. Let's go on. Toshma. We have anybody else want to read? Alan, Lou, you want to read? Somebody want to read? Alan.
Right.
Hamisha
Yeah.
Dvorim.
Pardon me?
Hamisha Dvorim.
Mm,
Toshma Hamisha Dvorim.
It's on the left hand, third line. Again, the Gemara, 9813. Yeah.
third one.
Again, the Gemara attempted a
Again,
resolution.
Gemara attempts resolution.
Right.
Tashma, come learn and prove from Brisa. Hamisha, the Barim, regarding the 5 things, i.e. categories of compensation payable to a victim injured by another person. Omrin, Osa, Min, Lo, Miyad. We assess the victim and give him the money immediately, i.e. the assailant is required to pay his victim immediately upon the conclusion of the trial. Now, in regard to 3 payments of damages, in regard to the 3 payments of damages, paying remuneration whose sums are immediately determinable, implication of this law is simple. Employee, the shiv is odd, shiv a raw, as far as the payment of healing the loss of employment sums are not yet known. They are calculated based on the victim's projected needs until he recovers. I'm a do for your miss if they assessed him, but he progressively deteriorated, i.e. the recovery took a longer time than expected, so that the expenses were greater than was assessed. Beyond law, to know, she do ho, be given only that amount for which he was assessed. In the who, the whole he, if they assessed him and he healed faster than expected, no, e, low, call, ma, who, we give him the entire amount for which they assessed him. Since the Brisa discusses assessments, Shema, Minor, Resh, Hashem, we need learn from this that there was an assessment performed for damages.
Does this mean that any assessment is fixed?
Is any assessment fixed?
It's fixed, yeah, isn't it? We only give him what he's been assessed.
Yes.
At least in regard to the ripui and the, yeah. I mean, they're mentioning his they make an assessment in regard to his for his recovery.
Yeah, and if it says here if the assessment, he made an assessment but it got worse, so the assessment the recovery took longer, so he still gets what he was originally assessed. And it says here also that if the recovery was quicker, he gets what was originally assessed, and that's it.
Right, he gets according to the projected amount that he's going to need. Correct.
So there's no change if the
You're asking a question, really. Are there any exceptions to this rule? Perhaps there are. We would have to know what's the basis for the. One thing we do know, we do know that there is such a thing as that he's not going to get more than what was assessed for him. Is that true in all cases? Not necessarily so. There may be exceptions to this rule, but the rule seems to be that there is a situation that according to his projected needs, that's what he's going to get as far as his medical recovery is concerned. If there's something, right, something that happened that it caused it, what would we say? Oh, if it took him longer to recover, maybe there was some complication that had nothing that we wouldn't make the person that caused the injury, we wouldn't make him liable for that because that was not something that he caused. It was something that was it was something else that caused that he needed more time to recover, more medical assistance. But
it could have been that the assessment was wrong. Maybe there was something underlying, something that was going to make him worse and worse and worse and worse. But they didn't see it. And they would have, if they had seen it, they would have assessed him at that.
Did that happen to you, Roy? You sound like you're talking from experience.
I don't think so. I can't remember.
Okay.
But no, I don't think so. But
It's just a theoretical question. Okay.
Yes, or something could happen a few days later on. You know, he's in shock, and when the shock wears off a few days later on, maybe, and something happens to him directly because of the injury or whatever.
Okay, as I say,
Hmm.
we don't know, based upon the fact that this Gemara says that in this case that we're talking about right here, that he's not going to get anything more, that there's no exception to the rule. That we can't say. We would have to know. We would have to know of all the cases. I can't answer that. Maybe there is. Maybe there is. But I could certainly hear a case where there would in fact be more expenses, but the Bezdin made no mistake, and it's just because we can't put that, we can't say that that was what was caused by the original injury.
Mhm. Okay.
That's, I mean, you're getting into a whole big subject over there. What happens if the Bezdin makes a mistake in the psak?
In what?
What happens if the Bezdin makes a ruling based upon incorrect information?
Uh-huh.
What's the din? You know, that's are we going to turn over the ruling of the Bezdin?
Mhm.
That's another question. But okay. Okay, so do we have any Rashi over here? Let's take a look at Rashi. Toshma chamish dvorim omdim benosnin lo. Oh, would you like to continue reading?
Okay.
You want me to read it? You want Lou to read it?
Oh, Lou, you want to read?
He's not with us.
Okay. Toshma, I'll start reading. Chamisha Devarim Omdim B'nei Lo. The Toshma, come and learn that we there are 5 things that we evaluate and you give it to him. Lo, Yersin, Nezek, Utsar, Abosha. We don't have the gersa about damages and pain and embarrassment.
We don't have that girsa of Nezek, Sar, and Boshis. Okay. Yeah, all we have, it just says 5 things, but we hear from the 5 things that would include Nezek, Sar, and Boshis, and also Ripui, as well as Shevis. But that's what Gemora is going to talk about. In other words, the Bryce is talking about 2 specific payments of doctor's expenses and work compensation.
Right.
And Rashi is saying we don't have in our text in regard to the other 3 of the 5.
Yeah, well, the difference is these three things we're claiming that we're giving them the money miyad, immediately. Those things. But the other one, the Rapui and Shevis, we don't give him the money for the healing and his unemployment compensation until he gets better. Actually, to repair. Koloma, there's no immediate assessment. Koloma to say, Srichim Beit Din, to say that you need the Beit Din to evaluate Kama Rui Leo, Kama be Nofel Lemishkav, to fall into bed, be stuck in, to be bedridden, so to speak. With this illness. Mechayiv this retained flow immediately. All Ripui Vishevis, all of the healing and his lost wages, so to speak, Umazonot and his maintenance, Hatsrichim, we need low Ad Shatir Be'er, only until he gets better. Can we figure out how much that would have come out to be?
So in other words, we're not. What was the other possibility? We would have waited until he has all of his medical attention taken care of, and until he goes back to work and say, oh, well now we can make a proper cheshbon. We only at that point we know exactly how many days of work he lost and how much medical expenses he had to incur in order to get a refuah shlema, and only at that point will we be able to hear the case, and then we'll be able to pay the exact amount. We'll be able to pay the exact amount of the damages, of the medical and the work loss. But we don't do that. We give him the money. We have the din right away, and even though before we know exactly how much medical he's going to need and how much work he's going to lose, we make a omed. We make an evaluation, an appraisal of the what he's going to need, and we give him that much. We give him that amount according to the appraisal that we make before we see exactly how many days of work he's going to be out and how much medical attention he's going to actually need. Okay, that's what we do. Okay. Next Rashi. We have time for the next Rashi.
Well,
The Hivriya.
no, wait a second. Where's the Hivriya? I want to get there. Now, what is
This is going in a
He
case where we made
becomes-
a
okay? Hivriya means he becomes healthy.
yeah.
He becomes more beri.
Right.
So if he becomes more healthy, Lizman Ma'at in a shorter amount of time. So
Right.
he became healthier quicker. They
Right.
aim Omdong, and they do an evaluation, Lizman Maruba, on a lengthy recovery, on a long time, a greater amount of time. So he got better, got well faster than expected. And then the answer to that is low, not time low call mashim. You give him all the amount that he was evaluated on. The Shmeya Rachamim Aleim, because he was Rachamim on him. Shmaya, heaven gave him. Heaven was merciful for him that he got better earlier, and he gets the whole thing.
And what about in the first case where they estimated less than what it actually he ended up? What about that case? That's what case Roy was asking about.
Seems like you're stuck with the original assessment, no matter what it was. You have to do a proper assessment.
Oh yeah. The Brisa says that explicitly. Omdu, they make the estimation. V'haya misnavne v'holech. In that case, ein nosnin lo ela kamosha amduhu. Now interesting. I'm wondering actually whether the Gemora is saying that even assuming that they made a mistake. In other words, I don't know if they made a mistake. They couldn't know. You know, it's a bit. It's like Rashi says in the second case. What was the reason that he got better fast? The Beis Din made no mistake. They were right on the mark. So how is it that he got better fast? What's the reason? In Shemayim they merachim on him. Beis Din didn't make any mistake. But maybe in the first case, maybe I don't know. Are we going to say that Beis Din made a mistake, or are we just simply saying that there was other things? It's not. Rashi doesn't. There's no Rashi on that case, is there?
No.
No, he doesn't talk about that case. Okay, so no, it's an interesting question you're bringing up. Are we saying that in other words, that's exactly a question. Are there going to be this that we say that we don't give him any more? What is the reason for that? Is that even in a case where it looks like and it was direct, and there's no way to explain that it was a healing, which the reason it took longer was because there was some sort of a complication or something that had nothing to do with the original injury. No, it took longer than the Beis Din thought that it was going to take, and it would appear that so to speak, people would say, oh, well, Beis Din made a mistake. Well, I don't know. Maybe Beis Din didn't make a mistake, but there was other reasons. Just like in the second case, we say there's other reasons why the person got better faster. Maybe there's other reasons why the person didn't get healed as fast as the Beis Din thought. That Al Pi Teva, according to the knowledge that the Beis Din is using, that it would take him to get better. It took him longer. I don't know. So. Okay, so very good. I see we're out of time. Interesting question. And we will, Be'ez Hashem. We'll see
He may
tomorrow.
not. He may not have followed doctor's orders.
Right? I mean, we don't. I mean, it would seem like we're just talking about an ordinary case. It doesn't have any unusual twists to it. And but so we're saying, so then what happened? What's the explanation of why it is that Beis Din, the recovery period was longer than when the Beis Din wasn't what they said? What's the reason for that? So I don't know. Okay, we'll see. Maybe we'll try to get an answer for this, Roy.
Mhm.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Yeah.
Well, see you, Phil,
Okay.
Alan, and Lou. Bye for now. All right. Bye.
All the best. Everybody have a great day.